We found our way into a third game in this UKLC relegation series. I'm still Viperio and joined by Jamada, and we're going to be going towards a final deciding game between Viperio and Bulldog. And Jamada, I know you're really excited for this one.
Oh yeah, I no, I am. Even if my expressions and my tone may not be the best indicator, it's exciting that we've actually gone to a game 3 here, because I think Viperio very easily could have taken this in 2 games.
Oh, 100%.
Now we're in a scenario where, we're back to effectively a best of 1. So I think if you're Viperio, just remove away the Samira. I think you can afford to ban the champion. If you're willing to ban out the Camille in the last game, I think even though you swapped sides, just removing it just kind of lifts a specific pressure off you to know that VUC isn't going to be able to just, 12 CS per minute and then come out and one-shot everybody with 2 ults in one of the later game team fights. But for now, they're going to ban away the Tristana, and the Thirst is going to be removed away, so now potentially Viperio are going to be forced into this Rel ban, and that would actually leave the Lily up if we do see this Rel banned away. So I guess potentially Viperio could also go down the route of leaving both of those champions open and still ban away the Samira and then just trade between one of the 2. Let's see if they've got their thinking caps on.
Let's see where their thinking lies, because with the Rel available, the Lilia available, the Udyr available that we saw banned in the first game, all going to be taking up 1 slot, which isn't how that works. And it will be the Lilia in the end. So Samira is standing, but it will be Bulldog going for that calmer, flexible pick that we've seen by Viperio in their last 2 games. You look pleased.
Not sold. But let's see how Viperio will respond. Of course, the Samira is still up for VUC. Gregors has had the Xayah game and that Tristana game. Curious to see whether he wants to go back to it, and also curious to see whether Hase is willing to come off of the Alistar onto that rail, as we are actually going to see an Azir first rotation here, which Azir is one of those champions where there are definitely champions in the game which can give him a whole bunch of trouble, but they're not always, prominent in the meta enough, or players don't necessarily play the champions that will give him trouble. Thinking about the long-range poke mages, things like the Xerath, and what's the other one? There's one other which I'm blatantly missing. But anyway,
there's one other poke mage.
There's one other really big poke mage that isn't Zoe that gives him a whole bunch of trouble. Either way, we're going to see Volibear paired up here with the Azir. So again, could go into Infor's hands, could be Johnny Rico. Just kind of depends on how the rest of the draft unfolds. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a Samira Rel rotation out of Bulldog here. Or, this would be curious or interesting to see, especially blind. But we've seen a lot of Jinx prioritization, particularly in the LEC recently. And I mean, it's been popping off, especially with some of the buffs it's gone. Things like doing objectives it just gets so obnoxious just because of the execute being removed away from Jinx. You can execute Barons and Dragons at about 2000 HP if the distance is actually long enough. As also going to see Olaf moved in here. So Zion going to be on that one for this game. And Viperio, honestly, you'd probably expect them to lock in an AD carry here. And I think, despite it not necessarily being the best matchup in the world, you would probably prioritize the Xayah over any other AD carry up. But let's see. I'm not going to make faces at the hovers. Ooh, Sivir. Wow, okay. So a real major throwback. I think in lane, you can probably contest priority realistically after the first base. I think Jinx level 1 is very, very powerful, especially if she's got the support matchup in favor. But I think the key thing here is front-to-back team fighting for Viperio already. It's kind of set in stone almost. When you've got the Azir, when you've got the Sivir, you don't want to team fight any other way. So looking at the Bulldog composition, they kind of want to bulldoze into you, at least with the Olaf, the Jinx, and the Karma already. That's kind of the theme that I'm looking at for now. So I think Viperio, they're looking pretty okay so far in the draft phase. Bans coming through, mostly top laners, Aatrox and Malphite, I think are fine. I think Viperio, looking at support pick, they probably want to look into some kind of form of engager. I think they need a true go button. Something like the Alistar is going to be fine. Something like Nautilus, honestly, I think would be really, really good here. But I think you may actually want to hold off on your support pick, potentially to R5. I think it's going to hold a lot of dividends here, just because you've got this big hyper carry versus hyper carry matchup in the bottom lane. The support matchup can be so pivotal in that. So I think you can look to lock in something really safe on the top side. What Infor would like to take, I'm honestly unsure. But with the Gnar gone, you kind of have quite a few more options tank-wise. So you can kind of pick anything, even looking at really weird things like Maokai would be okay in this kind of situation. Or you just pick another jungler that's positive into the Olaf and just chuck the Volibear top. It's really up to you.
Yeah, there is still flexibility in both of these drafts, so there's still opportunities to put that Volibear top. We don't even know where this Karma's going from Bulldog yet, but there's Nautilus, you know. You said you liked it in the bot side, we'll be going down there, and leaves open a little bit of flexibility around this top side because the Volibear, as we say, could fill either of those roles.
I just think that Viperio critically, it is so important that they had some kind of 1 point and click CC for the Jinx, and 2 actual true hard engage. And Bulldog very fast in this rotation, actually going for Alistar, which is totally okay into the Nautilus, but then also this Urgot pick. So Urgot, he's a very strong champion at the moment. We've seen him rear his head here and there in the LEC. I'm not sure so much about other major regions, but honestly, we saw a very strong performance out of Armut in the series, I believe yesterday or the day before, Mad Lions, where he just kind of took over the game. And I've been blessed with a GP game. I don't think I've cast the GP game in the UKLC, so finally we're going to see someone play it. And into this Urgot, honestly, he kind of has a free laning phase. So again, I like what Viperio have brought to the table this time around. Bulldog, they don't really have a true sort of go button in the sense that Viperio do. And I think that on the scaling side of things, Viperio kind of take it. It's going to be very interesting to see how these junglers butt heads, because these are the 2 early game functions, the 2 early game cogs in the machine for both these compositions to actually make things work. But I don't think that anywhere across the board, any lane necessarily edges out any lane in particular. So I think it's going to be down to pathing, wave management, and particularly level 1s on how the lanes actually play out and who secures, you know, early scuttles, lane priorities into neutral objectives, rotations for the heralds. These are actually going to be the kind of things that are going to be the most important things here in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, Urgot always loves seeing him rear his ugly head into the Rift. It's something that we see a lot in ERL League of Legends, something that is very, very preferred in a couple of regions. I love the whole from league to league where there's just random little bits of meta that occur, like the Baltic Urgot and the Baltic Braum are 2 classics where you can't just only see those champs in that region because, you know, it's good times. But with these 2 compositions, we're moving into our final game of the evening. Winner of this one wins the series. And of course, there's still a long road to qualification or being knocked out, but doing so here will be very, very nice for either of these teams. Is there a team composition that you're particularly favoring?
Viperio's. And it's not even necessarily that close. I think, Gregors is actually going to go for the lethality iteration of Sivir, which we've seen a, sort of a flare in popularity. And it's quite obnoxious. And I'm not going to describe why. I'm sure we'll get a demonstration just because of how clown fiesta these games have been. So, long story short, she's throwing out 600, 700 damage nukes because of how much damage that Q can do. And more, honestly, from ricochets occasionally. Just scales really well with lethality. It's kind of a surprising build, but there you go, it happens. It's more of a poke iteration of Sivir more than a sort of team fight front to back iteration. And I think because you've got the GP there, I'm okay with it. I think if there was another tank member on the top side, something like Sion, for example, then I think you'd probably want to run the traditional, crit Sivir. But that's what we're getting. And Zion's going to sweep this one away and give Hachi an XP lead on the top side. So Info's going to have to be careful about that one. Does mean Hachi will be level 2 on the first wave, 1 minion early. And actually, I think they're going to go for a lane invade here on this red buff. It looks like. And with the super gone down, it's actually kind of roused Viperio's interest. So they're sending Haste up here. It's going to be a 4v3, assuming Bulldog actually take this lane invade.
They're going to take it, but they're not going to take it with Shaylin, so they could be in massive trouble. But it looks like the other members have left away. So it is always going to be the catch out here. Johnny Rico has to smite early to stay alive and flashes over the wall. Disaster for Viperio as Hase sheepishly moves back. Zion already caught up the red buff though. Really, really bad start from the team from UKL.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Bulldog make the correct call. nonetheless to go for this late invade. I think the draft gap is quite tremendous. So if there's one way to throw a spanner in the works here, it's by forcing Johnny Rico practically out of the game. And I mean, honestly, if I would love to see Zion actually just run straight to blue buff here at Johnny Rico's blue buff, because he would be completely out of the game. Bulldog have bottom lane priority, and I mean, the blue pings are coming down, so that's exactly what's going to happen. Bulldog come alive. See if he actually checks the wolf camp, because if he does... Okay, so Johnny Rico is at least going to secure one jungle camp for himself. But this is just a Volibear. I just ripped out of the game violently. He's not really going to be able to do anything. No red buff, one jungle camp. He's going to return to a one small chicken raptor camp. Two chickens, I suppose.
Two small chickens.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, what could have been a very positive early game out of the fact that none of these lanes can necessarily really be abused. Oh, Archie.
Let's be a little careful, but Info not too healthy, so probably won't press the issue, but the fact that Viperio basically do not have a jungler for the early stages of this game is going to make things very, very difficult for them.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Zion should actually have a relatively good idea on where Johnny Rico is going to be always, so he can realistically just deny everything at every possible turn away. He's got 2 jungle camps, and he just reset for boots and a control. He is still level 2. Archie has actually gone for a reset here and picked himself up a cloth armor. If we could get a quick toggle of the gold once more, I just want to see if Infor has the gold for a sheen. So he's not actually going to get the optimal GP base, so that top lane really not going to be an issue for Archie for the immediate future, which is a pretty good thing for Bulldog, especially given how this early game's been going. And Zion, level 4, Johnny Rico most likely about 2/3 of the way through level 2. Yeah, it's...
That's a sad bear. Look at the way he's walking, he knows. He knows.
Now he is now Zion's not actually truly going for full abuse of the bear, so he's not gone for this double skull pressure. So I think Johnny Rico off the Gromp is going to be able to secure another jungle camp. So not going to be fully out of the game, but I mean, for what Volibear wants to do, it's not looking pretty, to say the very least. And Zion's going to have an almost full vertical clear down to the bottom side. I think he might be level 5. Oh my god, he's level 5 now. And he's going to be actually making his way up to the top side, potentially looking to dive in for. Whilst Bulldog could be in trouble here on this bottom side. The wave is stacking in.
Give it a push up. Johnny Rico hanging around, not on vision, but Bulldog giving respect, throwing the zap forward. But here comes Johnny Rico looking for the stun. Will be able to find it on to Poke, but the Alistair trying to stumble away. Flash will be enough to get his safety as Vyuzi turns a bit of damage down on the other side of the map. Infor taking a beating himself, but will likewise survive with Flash Bud away. So both of these junglers equal success on opposite sides of the map so far, but not might be looking for the anchor. Can he find it? No, he can't. Vyuzi sidesteps. Poke will get the knock-up. Teleport coming in behind them, though. Members of Viperio need to be very, very careful as they look to back away. Shikland trying to get the tether down onto Has. He can't escape right now. Damage comes through from Vyuzi, but the damage is just not there yet. You can't be missing those as Shikland forced away. No one goes down today.
Well,
you good?
Shikland's not going to be happy. No, Will. I am not okay today. The lack of food maybe not helping me out either, as we're going to get a replay of the re-engage gank here, and the anchor just barely missing out, but you see a very nice sidestep. The route into stun comes through, but the aftershock this time around on the Alistar keeps him alive long enough, and Shikland, I mean, he's rooted, so I just don't... I don't know. It's one of those things where sometimes you just miss. And Zion coming out into the life picture is going to be picking up this dragon. No surprises, major lead in the jungle here. Pretty much going to be double CS. Johnny Rico waiting for his red buff. 2 levels down, a level and a half. As Actually, Shiflin.
Oh,
Oh
don't.
no.
No, what's the point,
Oh.
Shiflin? Don't. Why?
Uh,
Oh, and now he has to smite again to get the damage, and now the buff.
now
Zion walks up and smite. What's the point? Come on,
now, it's good from Bulldog. It just feels bad for Johnny Rico.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's very, very good for Bulldog.
In the jungle right now, and I mean they were even willing to bring poke up, as you can see, and honestly
down as well.
Yeah, not great. And they've actually sent VUC to the top side here to get some...
Oh, they're going into his bot side.
I mean, it's good play. What can Viperio realistically do at the moment? The answer is really not much. Oh, that's a great pulverize over the wall, actually.
Yeah, really, really clean. Hassel will be able to get the anchor away, but very, very clean play from Poke to pick someone up, and it will help them grab themselves a blue buff.
Yeah, pixel perfect there as
Infor using the ultimate, but
audacious.
Not going to be able to pick up anything.
Yeah, very audacious from Infor. Can respect the attempt, but with no sheen damage, the procs just aren't really that high for a potential all-in at the moment. As I believe Zion stripped away some of the bottom side jungle and now has a pretty much full jungle to clear for himself. Gold lead 500 jungle to jungle with no kills actually being present on either side. That's a pretty significant gold difference. Doubling the CS of poor Johnny Rico. And I'm getting borderline flashbacks of the Cleanser game where he, for the very first time, had Udyr and was bullying out, I believe, the Demise jungler in Honkart. But we have an engage here in the mid lane.
Gilligan needs to be careful, has to flash behind his soldiers. Hass is there to make sure that the situation is diffused. The double buff Zion will be on hand just to make sure that the fight doesn't continue any further. As both teams do look to back away. They've moved top side to the bot side this time around in order to give themselves the best opportunity to try and grab a Rift Herald.
Yeah, and for now, no startup. Kind of surprised, honestly, Bulldog could force the issue almost anywhere, especially with the Cannon Barrage being down. There's no armor on Killikin either, so I mean, being very generous, I feel, with their time. Being very leisurely about it. But Viperio top side going to be resetting, so good to see Zion clear up the Rift Herald once he realizes that there is not really much a threat anymore, but I imagine he probably has a fair amount of gold, so maybe he wants to spend. There you go. I was searching for the word for some reason. Some of it, but a lot of pings onto the top wave, a lot of pings even onto the bottom side, and with mid lane priority, top lane priority, no Cannon Barrage or teleport available from Infor just yet. Seems like the Herald is finally going to be started up, most likely taken down. Johnny Rico, poor man, is still level 5, still searching for something in the jungle.
He hasn't had a buff yet. Bless him.
Yeah, he hasn't.
Poke might be in a little bit of trouble. The zap comes through in FiOC, but it does go wide. In the jungle, why? He has to, doesn't even get over the wall, has to flash away. Killigan moves on through, but Hatchet cleans up the camp, and it's just not Johnny Rico's game right now.
I mean, at the very least, whatever he did get did put him over to level 6, so it meant that he was able to escape. So there's a positive in that, but my goodness.
Killigan diving on through, catches out Hatchy with the Emperor's Divide. He's forced to flash away. Infor needs to be very, very careful. The ultimate, the 5th one there is available. Killigan says the soldier's first blood. The tower will get him though. It's returned, but it's only an execute. In the top side, VIOC's been given a whole heap of gold from the Rift Herald drop, but first blood will be taken over via Viperio.
Yeah, and VIOC's actually opting not to take the tower, instead actually deny away the CS from Gregors instead. Bit of a choice on whether you would want to take the first tower or not, but at the end of the day, he is still 600 gold up at the moment, mostly off of those plates, so certainly not going to be complaining either way. As we'll take a reset now. That dragon is spawning in 15 seconds, so a little bit late on the resets. Pretty much all the Bulldog across the board, and Zion hasn't even spent his gold yet. He's probably sitting at about 2,000 gold right now, so he really needs to scuttle on home. And I mean, in all fairness, not like Viperio couldn't even contest at the moment, I feel, with Johnny Rico being so far behind. And their bottom lane being on the top side, but still, something to think about. The reset timer's very much off for the objective timer, but won't be punished for it this game.
Red buff spawn into the map. Rico heading over mid to see if he can get a buddy come help him this time, because bless him, when he's tried it on his own, it hasn't been so fruitful. Poke on the bot side though, will be able to get on top of in 4. You can see Urgot hanging around as well. Hatchy not going to take up tower, has a decent wave there and is just looking to push in those plates. You can see Johnny Rico actually going in deep into the enemy jungle to secure a couple of camps for himself. Shiklin might have overextended though. Haas and Killigan are there. The ultimate comes out from the Nautilus, going to be able to land the depth charge, and the anchor damage comes on through. I don't think there's a way for Shiklin to get out of this one. Volibear will dive on through. Doesn't want to steal it away. Lets Killikin grab the kill. Akin. And then Gregors uses the mana shield to keep himself alive.
Yeah, just barely though. And seeing like Bulldog trying to get aggressive onto Gregors. Okay, flash for flash.
Okay.
Nothing to see here, but Hachi has just stripped this tower down. From 5 plates to just the 1. Going to be swimming in money, I'm sure. 1.3k. We're looking forward to spending that on the recall sometime soon. And speaking of plates being stripped off towers, 2 more into Viperio's pocket in the mid lane. I say 2 more, but they've really not found too much. But hey, look, Killikin on the top side actually. They're getting some free time.
Not a goal being traded over this time around. It's important to note that Zion also stole away the blue buff from the Volibear, so still hasn't seen that one. Red buff still on the map though, so
yeah, there's still the chance that I can get over there. Run.
You'll see him pops his ult and just pegs it towards red buff really angrily. That's when you know. But I mean, all things aside, all jokes aside, it's 14 minutes in. Volibear still hasn't seen a buff, but neither jungler's done all that much to impact the game outside of a couple of objectives going over to Bulldog.
I mean, whoa. I mean, if it's any consolation, Viperio came into this game with effectively 3 scaling lanes and an early game jungler.
Yeah.
And Zion has removed Johnny Rico.
Volibear's going for red. Johnny.
He's got it. It's his. He's going to get it.
We need to watch this. This is momentous.
I do agree.
No, that's Gregors. Why are you doing this?
Well, the Observer doesn't like us today, and that's fine. Sometimes
we did bully them earlier a little bit. To be fair. So, there's a
maybe,
pause.
I think maybe that's why we weren't getting to see much.
Perhaps maybe that's the issue, but we're going to be jumping back into that one very, very shortly, hoping for confirmation that we do see Volibear get the red. But you know, anything can happen in this game. This has been a crazy old series, hasn't it? This has been some very entertaining League of Legends, and at this point in the game, about 1,000 gold in the pockets of Bulldog over their opposition in Viperio. Are they happy with the position that they found themselves in?
Bulldog?
Yeah, Bulldog.
Yeah, Bulldog are fine.
Okay.
They are more than happy. I mean, they've got Vyusi in a very comfortable position where he is scaling up. He is going to start farming and taking away some of the jungle camps too. They've got some of the mythics and key items coming through. And Johnny Rico is basically going to be a non-factor this game. So until Viperio's carries actually get to their core items and spikes, Bulldog have all of the agency on the map to do pretty much whatever they feel like. So I will definitely say they've been very gentle about how they've approached things on the map so far this game, even though what I feel like is an overbearing lead in the jungle, to the point where Olaf could probably run through like almost anybody on this team as long as he's given some shields and some additional CC, as that's an engage.
Poured out with the headbutt pulverize, having to pop the ultimate on the hunt to get away. Hatchy moving on through, slides on down. Looking to get a little bit more damage for the Fear Beyond Death. It will land. He's going to drag him in. Johnny Rico actually picks up the kill onto Pogo as the fight takes place between the 2 towers. Has to dive away with the anger. Double kill to the Volibear, who said he's down and out as the ult to safety. Viperio actually take the exchange 2 for 1, and a double kill goes on to Johnny.
Yeah, but 2 kills going on to Johnny in this kind of situation is just not really ideal, so I don't really feel like Bulldog even care too much about it. It's more about what they could lose off the back of the fight, which is the bigger thing to be concerned about. So angling up this mid lane here, but I mean, look at how strong.
Oh, the Ragnarok's being popped, and he's looking towards the gangplank, but Vyusi gonna have to flash away from that one side. Still alive, but it's a shutdown going on to the Azir as Jinx will fall. Johnny Rico moving forward alongside the rest of his team, but Hachi has teleported and hanging around over the side. The fight could well continue, and Johnny is too far away from the rest of his team. He runs down river, but he might go down. There it is, buff transfer complete as Hachi picks it up.
How does Volibear have a shutdown, man?
Well, it's the double kill, you know?
I know, but it's just such a sad thought. Like, he spent the entire game being bullied just to have a shutdown, and the one time he has it, for no longer than 30 seconds, it's handed over pretty much free. So let's get a look at this mid lane tower fight. As, I mean, Zion lands the first undertow, he just feels like he can run Hase down. And Killerkin just sees Vyusi stepping a little bit too far forward, almost clips Chicken with the Emperor's Divide too. And underneath the tower, Vyusi just drops to all the damage from Johnny Rico. And Killerkin on the backside, Zion did find lethal, and just a minor mechanical misstep here, which almost cost the Bulldog boys a kill. As
another fight kicking off, Bulldog moving forward, trying to get as much damage down to House as possible, but here comes Volibear, gets the stun down, and Urgon is shut down. More money to the bear as the fight continues. Johnny Rico stepping forward, Gregors picks up his first kill of the game, but has got an Olaf on his face. Can he survive the flash away? The Emperor's Divide will secure his safety as Pope is chased away. There's the stun by Viperio, pick up another with the gangplank parlay. But there's no parlay given between these two teams. Viperio will pick themselves up their first dragon of the game.
Yeah, they're going to pick up the first dragon. It's so big to be able to delay the soul here. And I mean, again, speaking about it no longer than 2 minutes ago, Bulldog, I feel, just being too slow, too gentle about how they've been approaching the map in general. Given the jungle lead that they had, they could have just forced so many issues. And before the Viperio members actually had some of their mythics, their core items completed to actually fight like how we're seeing them fight here. But they gave Viperio the breathing room, and coming into the game, I said I heavily favored or preferred the Viperio draft, and this is kind of why. Like, if Bulldog aren't able to execute, you know, 1 or 2 members almost immediately off the back of CC, then the kite back starts to come into effect. The barrels start coming down, the cannon barrage starts coming up, the soldiers are there, the Silver Armor just starts to speed everyone up. And it just makes it so hard to lock these members down when you don't really have that much point and click CC. And Viperio have been given this... Hachi?
He's, you know, going for a walk. Might be called out here. There's the anchor. There's the damage going to be thrown on back in. Hachi, nowhere to go. Will be falling. Gregors donated the kill. Another one onto the Civic.
Okay, well... you know, maybe Bulldog, maybe they're just feeling like doing some charity work. I think that's maybe what's going on here.
I think they feel bad about how they treated this Volibear for the first 15 minutes of this game. Like, it's the thing is, Bulldog will be able to pick up the Rift Tail from this, but it is a battering ram rather than an investment banker now. There's no cash in his pocket, but he can help you take down turrets, which is definitely a useful fact. And Volibear's only 300 gold down on Olaf now. And we talked about how Johnny's going to struggle to be a champion for large spaces of this game. He's very much back in it now.
Yeah, and this is kind of the moment, the key couple of objectives where he can have a lot of heavy impact here. So pretty good time for him to be welcomed back into Summoner's Rift. You disconnected for a couple of minutes, but it seems like these servers have allowed him back in. And taking a look at the state of the game in general, mythics / core items across the board completed, as of course Gregors and Hachi respectively don't actually go for the mythic items first. The Manamune is the bigger priority on this Lethality Sivir, and the Titanic Hydra is actually the core item for Hachi first. Then you would expect it to be the Stridebreaker afterwards. So everyone on both sides actually pretty strong, all things considered, though Killerkin probably head above the rest with the Nashers and the Leandri being completed at the same time. But still 2 minutes for more items to be completed. Vyusi actually on the other side has completed his second full item, though a far cheaper combined cost to what Killerkin is working with, so relatively even. things considered.
And, you know, with these items being picked up, the next couple of fights are going to be explosive. You've got both of these teams looking for the win here, wanting to grab themselves the win in the series. Guaranteeing one of us is going to be correct in our predictions, which, you know, is always a good feeling.
Yeah.
Knowing that someone's going to be correct, because it's just really sad when neither of us are, but... You feeling confident in your Bulldog prediction?
No, not particularly. We were just being honest with each other. Bulldog have not looked great tonight. And I feel in this game 3 had the opportunity to really run home with a overwhelming victory, but just didn't continue to press the issue. Didn't play a high tempo game, and it allowed the scaling members of Viperio back into it. Killerkin, 2 items. Gregor's very close to his second item completion. Infor just finished up Dustblade. 2 items in his pocket.
I mean, to put this game into perspective, in this relegation tournament, this is the top-seeded UKLC team in this tournament. Hachi gets burned down to half health. 7th place finish in the UKLC versus the team that finished 3rd in the UKEL. So this is definitely not necessarily how we'd expected this game to go, but this only goes to show how closely these two leagues can align in skill level when it comes to the top and bottom, respectively. So another tower going down mid. Viperio will be able to file out one by one. But I can feel like there's a fight going to occur in the very near future. Dragons almost up, and both of these teams posturing, looking for something. Hatchy looking at the side, has to dive away. Someone's about to pull the trigger. Who's it going to be? Johnny Rico moving forward. That's the big ultimate coming through from Karma. The headbutt lands, but the pulverize does not. And Poke has to ult to back away. Will be able to get away at least for a moment, but Zion will be the first victim of this fight. Shicklin chased down. Hatchy standing in the choke, trying to help his teammates escape. But they'll be able to find onto Vyusi. He's going to flash away the fear beyond death. Actually going to break up the fight a little bit. Vyusi's the only one still standing. As a big amount of damage from Imblivore does not pick him up. The Quadra in this one. Killerkin looking to chase for the ace. Won't be able to do so, but Viperio take the fight. And the Dragon on the back.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look at. It's hard to look at. Viperio just kind of have the superior team fighting composition, man. They've got the Azir, they've got the Sivir, they've got the Gangplank, and they were able to survive the Olaf dive. And once Olaf was kind of dealt with, they could actually actively move forward, which... This composition is not necessarily designed to do that, but the Cannon Barrage was just dealing so much damage and doing so much work in keeping Bulldog's retreat as slow as possible. And they kind of just slaughtered the fight. Second Dragon in their pocket. And it's only going to get worse if they're allowed to actually set up around this Baron, because they're going to have to walk into Azir soldiers. They're going to have to walk into barrels. We'll get the replay here as, you know, Poke kind of just messes up the engage. They get the mantra shielding, and Poke feels like now's the time to go. He looks for it, but it's just mistimed, and gets the ultimate to survive. But then Zion, something just possesses him to move forward, and you can see the Cannon Barrage was just in such a great spot to slow down multiple members, and Viperio are able to just kind of run the members of Bulldog down. They try to keep Vyusi alive. They sacrifice themselves for their AD carries KDA, and he almost drops himself, but able to survive here. And it means second Dragon, gold lead, map lead will return to Viperio shortly, as Bulldog actually have a fair amount of control around this Baron for now, but you feel pressure can be forced out pretty soon.
Gregor's halfway to that 400 CS severe win condition.
Yep.
Which is always good, but you know, 400 farm on Jinx is also a pretty scary prospect, and Vyusi is significantly closer to that break point, as Viperio just clearing out all of that vision that Bulldog worked hard to gain for themselves. Both top laners will be in the split, but Hachi could have a really good time just pushing into those waves. Got absolutely loves doing so, but look at the goal discrepancies in some of these positions. I'm looking at the mid lane most especially. Goodness me, Killerkin has turned up today.
Killikin certainly has. Got that pin to kill in the last game, wasn't able to wrap up the series of it, but games 1 and 3 still had a pretty solid performance. And looking to round out the series with a win on such a positive performance. As a lot of the vision kind of dissipated here for Bulldog. It is still present enough that Viperio won't be able to start the Baron or anything like that in the immediate future, but all it's really going to take is a force of mid lane priority into that side of the map. And all of a sudden, it's complete darkness for Bulldog. As kind of looked like for a moment Viperio were thinking about sending members down to pick up Archie, but think better of it.
Viperio actually going to move members to the mid lane to try and gain themselves that priority that you talked about. They want to be able to control this Baron as much as possible, and with Dragon coming up in a minute and a half, having the vision control along this river and the priority in the mid lane is even more crucial. Both teams can set themselves up for a spooky fourth Drake, that Salt, if they can grab themselves a third on its next spawn. But Bulldog given the opportunity to move in, grab themselves Scuttle, grab themselves some vision, and slow this game down once again. And it's been a bit of a quiet position right now, but that's always, after this series, a little bit warranted. Want to see these teams controlling the waves a little bit, making sure they're in the best positions for the next fight, because it could be pretty pivotal whoever wins the next engagement.
Yeah, I would say the next... Oh!
That was almost...
Playing with fire.
Yeah, it's very, very brave, but Viperio do manage to see the Jinx back, doesn't go down, but now has the Sundisk in the mid lane, so priority can be passively gained there for a little bit until Bulldog are able to push up and take down that, albeit weakened, tower. Viperio have the inside track towards the Dragon, if not the Baron buff. We'll have to see where the fight kicks off though, because Viperio a little bit split up. Bulldog could look to try and brute force something if they really felt the need, but are kind of corralling Viperio back towards the mid lane, away from the objective, but back towards each other. The Sundisk will only stand for a moment longer, as Vyusi will be able to siege it down on the next couple of autos. There it goes. And now the fight can kick off in earnest if Bulldog decide to pull the trigger.
Yeah, let's see if they do. Because they kind of have to, and here you go.
Actually, we're going to see the ult away from Johnny Rico as the Ragnarok and Olaf runs for the hills. A lot of ultimates used defensively. The Super Mega Death Rocket doing minimal damage, just scratching the paintwork of Azir and Nautilus. Viperio are going to be able to heal up with some delicious honey fruit as Teleport comes into the pit. This is an Urgot coming on down. They managed to get the catch onto Poke once again. He's going to be forced back wheel on half health. The ultimate is burning as Hachi starts up the objective. Viperio are not the ones who have started this one, but will look to try and steal it away. Johnny Rico hanging around the pit. Will be caught up on the Chompers. A lot of damage is coming on down. Watch the on the side. He's doing as much as he can, but Killigan gets first kill on the guy. Has will be executed as Hachi looks to drag people in, gets the damage down before falling himself as Zayen chases members away. Bulldog should be able to pick themselves up the Dragon. They will do just that. And the fight ends 2 for 2 in terms of kills, but it's a very, very messy fight there.
Yeah, the initial engage, so many ultimates blown by Viperio meant that they couldn't actually take advantage of Bulldog running into them later on in the fight. And are they looking for the Baron here? Seems like they are. They do have the damage for it, but Bulldog certainly can make it here in time.
Coming down.
Yeah, that's a fast. Yeah, that's a fast abandon.
Which is good. I see that they decided that one wasn't to be the case, but now it gives Bulldog the opportunity to try and move up and potentially take it themselves.
It's Bulldog's turn, yeah. Bulldog are going to probably start this one up if the series has taught me anything, at least.
But in the fight that we just saw around Dragon, Vice giving so much time on the back line to just put in loads of damage.
Yeah, he has certainly been able to. And again, you can see Bulldog's composition is actually pretty good. It's just that Viperio have such good answers into it that it can be very hard to team fight into. And hopefully, for Bulldog's sake, they can provide Vyusi the space to deal out some more damage, but there's just so many threats on the other side here for Viperio. And all of the members kind of online. Info has to be a little bit careful here.
Actually might look for the catch. Has used the strike breaker and brings him back towards Zion. Johnny Rico is there, but so much damage coming through. The Fear Beyond Death will miss though. As Infor able to dash away, but the Emperor of the Vine will not go wide. Hatchie gonna be chased off. The Ragnarok is used to prevent any slowing onto the Olaf, but that's not gonna help Urgot. He survives a second longer, dives back and won't be able to find himself the kill onto Gangplank. But it was very close. But look on the other side of the map. It looks like Bulldog have started up the Baron bomb, but Haas is there. Teleport comes on through. Shiklin and Bayusi have to abandon their objective. Haas like, what if I just keep this one ticking over, decides against, but in the mid lane, Johnny Rico moving forward, gets onto the Alistair, who has to pop the ultimate. Gregor's running on through. Can they get the kill onto the Alistair? Can they pick up more important targets? Poke will be stunned up and probably going to be the only one who's really targeted here. But actually on the other side of the fight, it will kick off once again. Shiklin has been caught, but Haas is the one who goes down. Zion running on through, looking for a flank to escape by, as Johnny Rico will run forwards on all fours. Can he stun? No, he can't, but continues the chase a second longer. A very messy, elongated fight across the entire map. Enter Viperio moving towards Baron.
What a bloody fiesta. Now it's going to be Viperio starting up the Baron, and we've seen these things go
They're healthy this time, though. So, I mean, there is that. But this Mega Death will mean that Infor is no longer particularly healthy as Zion. Full health, Ragnarok available once again. Runs on through, takes that one before going down. Killigan has to go golden. Baron's only at 2,500. Helps Killigan dives forward, grabs himself a kill. But you see this time is the one who has to be a statue as Hatchie looks for the save, can't find it. But can he find the kill onto Johnny Rico? Gregors isn't convinced that his jungler has legs and will back away. Hatchie stands strong, a field of corpses in front of him. And Baron laughs on. Hatchie will be looking maybe to catch out Gregors, uses the Strikebreaker, but Haas is here. Does Sivir have the damage to turn this one around? I don't think so, as Hatchie still bent on his prize, puts up the spell shield, gets the shutdown on top, and will be able to flip Haas away from the angle. That's going to be a double going over to the Urgot, and as you see, Alistair back up, Poke going to start up the Baron.
I mean, Hachi and Poke probably can now. Info's actually got the Cannon Barrage, but I don't think it's going to be enough to dissuade the Baron itself.
Yeah, Poke though.
Okay.
Just gonna throw it down. Alistair forced to back away. Just gonna have to wait for that one to stop throwing watermelons. But members are back on the map for Viperio. Bulldog are sending their own reinforcements though, and this Baron could well go, but it's very, very slow. Infor has turned up, Killikin there as well, and Azir is going to be able to do so much damage if he can get a good amount of abilities into the pit. Throws in a soldier just to scout the area. Johnny Rico coming in from the side. This fight has not let off as the Volibear is chased away by Bayusi. Going to go very, very low, going to be secured by Bayusi on the Jinx. Finally, the Baron goes down. It's Bulldog who take it in stride.
The biggest bait in the world is finally off the map, and now finally our teams will not lose the Baron. Not lose the Baron. It seems like, though, because of the reset timing, Viperio are going to be the ones with initiative on this Dragon.
Speaking of initiative, they're looking for engage. As Hatchie going to be able to move away, but Dragon could well be on the menu.
Dragon probably on the menu, but that's the hunt blown by Sivir, but they're going forward.
And there's the Emperor's Divide. Zion looking to get forward, but has to move away once again. The Chompers in the river will stop any re-engage from Viperio. Hatchie dives on through. This Urgot is so big, forcing everyone from Viperio to get over the walls, get down the river, get away. The Jinx is doing so much as they turn their attention towards the objective. They want to get themselves to solve the engage. Hatchie dives on through, and he will be able to pick up the kill onto Killikin. Now Viperio are looking for the fight, but they cannot find it. Bulldog pick up the soul and will be able to sustain themselves through. And the way that this game is going, having that sustain is going to be crucial. They've got Baron, they've got Soul, they've got a minion wave. How much can they take?
Now, Sivir and Gangplank are both up, but there's 5 members, Baron and an Ocean Soul. They can sort of survive through some of this poke as long as they don't take too much. Honestly, given how this series has gone, Bulldog might go for the end, Will. I don't know.
Or they might get pentakilled. You know, we've seen both this series as Bulldog are putting the pressure on the Nexus towers. The bottom one is going so low. It will crumble before Viperio's eyes as they look to try and get onto Johnny Rico. He's going to be dragged in. The Fear Beyond Death is huge. 2 members of Viperio go down. The second Nexus tower will fall. Infor stumbles by the Nexus and has his chased away. Bulldog from the ashes pick themselves up a win in the most crazy series I've seen in a long time.
I have no idea how to even begin to break down a game like that. That was one of the most hectic series of games that we've had in the UKLC in a while, in a pretty long time. And I mean, credit to Bulldog, they finally pulled through and won. And especially, I think, in that final game, the draft was a pretty big hurdle to overcome just because of how Viperio's draft functioned into much of Bulldog's. But crucially, Vusi eventually scaled up. He was eventually pulling out those massive crits with the Jinx. And you had Hachi doing so much AoE damage with those shotgun knees and the Fears Beyond Deaths. They find enough like fights at the right times. They eventually pick up the Baron. And unfortunately for Viperio, they kind of just crumble at the last step. And I feel like they're going to be kind of punching themselves because they know realistically they could have won this series 2-0. I think walking away from it, at least in my opinion as well, Bulldog won, but I don't think they were the better team today. And I will say how I see it. I think Bulldog, credit to them, not taking credit away from them, but Viperio came out and they played today, but they were just missing that final critical, clinical sort of behavior fashion to their play. But what a hectic game. Bulldog moving on forward through the bracket now. They are going to be in that winners bracket. Whatever it is. It's double elim. They're in the best.
You know how the double elim works. You know how this whole situation is. But for me, it's a case of there are a couple of things in that final game that were shining beacons because Bulldog were the worst team this series. I think it's easy to say like, oh well, you know, they won, which they did. But one thing that was better in the series, look on the map, except for the times where Hachi would occasionally just go for a walk around bot lane. Yeah. Was the difference maker in a lot of these late game team fights alongside Vusi on the Jinx.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think given how this early game started, if you watched the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game and then you saw that it was Bulldog that won, you wouldn't really have any complaints, you would understand. Yeah. But it was just the mid game and handing Viperio so much time and freedom to actually even be allowed to play this game is almost in itself a sin. But, you know, I guess Bulldog wanted to work for it, and I mean, Viperio certainly did make them work for it, as replays of some of the crazy hectic fights that we had. And it was just fight after fight after fight. And I think that's how you can honestly just kind of summarize this series.
It was two freight trains going full speed into each other.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it's very entertaining to watch. And I mean, as you said, I think Viperio need to go away and look at how they're closing out series and how they're playing cleanly, because on a different day, either of these teams coming into a matchup like this could easily take a 2-0 because neither team was playing at 100% capacity. And I think it's maybe a little bit concerning when you think, okay, well, Demise are going to be coming into this one, a team that a lot of people have had some promise for and were on a not great season, but might come into this one a little bit stronger because they know that it's their last chance. And then Lucent as well can come in to this series knowing that they're better than Viperio. They beat them last weekend in a best of 3 series. So when you look at how these two teams played, yes, Bulldog go away with the W on the board, and in 6 months' time, if they survive in the UKLC, they don't care that they threw away a Baron and gave away a Penta for no reason. But in a week's time, if the other two teams on the other side of the bracket show up to play 100%, both of these teams could be worried.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think so. I think whoever ends up playing against Bulldog in the winners, whether it's Lucent or Demise, has a pretty solid shot at taking down Bulldog, in my opinion. And as for Viperio, I think they can probably hold their heads high. You know, there is a small break in between the relegation series where they're going to have a day and a half to sort of, you know, go over these games and see what refinements they can make, because I don't think the refinements are that difficult to find in games like this, even though they are hectic and chaotic. Speaking from experience, these are the best games to learn from. So hopefully they can find, you know, that final step, because honestly, today, I think they came out, they played very good League of Legends, and I was very fond of some of their drafts as well. They seem to understand how to draft, but not always how to play the draft in the game. All the time, but
it can be a problem.
Yeah, it can be, but hey,
but
it can be fixed.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of learning to be done for both of these teams from this series, so it's going to be very useful for them to have a look through and decide exactly what they're doing. But I feel like we're going to have an interview very, very shortly, just waiting on production to confirm that one. So let's jump into our interview, and it is with the Ergot himself, Hachi, coming in from Bulldog. Massive congratulations on the win. Feeling good after that one?
Well, I don't like, if you look at the gameplay, I don't think we got to be proud of ourselves, but you know, a win is a win. That's all that matters right now. So yeah, pretty happy after all, even though our gameplay is disgusting.
I mean, it was a W on the board is all that matters, and we were just saying before you jumped in about how once you got the W on the board, it's the lessons that you take from it as opposed to how you played particularly. Are you, as a team, going to be going over those matches tomorrow and the coming days to see exactly where you can look to improve?
I better hope so, because this was not looking so good. So yeah, I think we'll have a chat after the game, after the series, after the stream, and we'll see what we're gonna do, and hopefully it's gonna be better next time.
Yeah, I think this is probably the first. It's the first time we've had you on the interview desk, correct? Even though you guys you've had your fair share of wins. I think we mostly had Shicklin on desk. So I kind of want to ask you a more broader question, just about your time in the UKLC for one. You came in, you really smashed a lot of expectations. You know, how's it been playing in the UKLC? How's it been playing with this team? You know, you guys were effectively 1 win away from actually making it into playoffs, but the way that the head-to-heads worked, it just meant that you guys end up in relegations, obviously. But key question, how have you guys sort of been throughout the split, and how have you personally been as well?
Well, obviously the first week was like, I think we blow everybody's expectations how things went. Personally, we were like, oh yeah, we can easily get first, and then like we got a reality check, everything went downhill. Personally, like, I don't think we clicked that well as a team. We don't have like a real shot caller, so that's something that we're missing. So that's why our games always look really messy, for example. But for me personally, I think I made a lot of growth, especially in solo queue for my own gameplay. I went from D1 to Challenger, so I'm pretty happy with my own personal development here. And yeah, I think overall this the league itself, I think people are underestimating how good some teams are actually. Even though like we played disgusting bad, I think you should give Viperio, for example, like good credits. They played decent, despite being like a league under us. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy with my own personal development. I think the league is underestimated, so I hope people can just keep on growing, and it's getting bigger every season.
There you go. Thank you very much, Archie. Will, any closing questions you got for him?
I've got a question. So when you were going into that final game, did it feel good bullying Johnny Rico that much?
You should have been up.
Are you gonna sleep well tonight, knowing what you did to that man?
Well, I'm gonna watch it back and I'm gonna have a big smile because I love smacking junglers. Not gonna lie.
Well, massive congratulations on the victory in this series, Hachi, and we look forward to seeing your development further throughout this relegation series.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Amazing. Had to ask, man. I'm gonna lose sleep over that, and I was just casting it. But let's try and put some order to the chaos in one of those plays that we saw in the final. Well, Jamada, take it away with your crayons.
Yeah, so crayons here kind of just kind of highlighting the differences in some of the compositions. And this is actually a fight that Viperio win. But I still think it's important to kind of mention these kind of things. And Bulldog, I think in the moment, when you think about the context of the game, if they lose this dragon, things kind of get put on a timer. Things start to go really bad. So once they get the mantra shield from Shicklin, Poke just feels like it's time to go. They have to go. They have to move forward. And they look for the engage onto Killerkin, but as you can see, the headbutt pulverize combo is kind of botched. And now Poke kind of in no man's land in between all 5 members. He can probably walk out of this, but then Zion just kind of feels possessed to move forward. And you can see the cannon barrage is basically zoning, Vyusi from actually moving forward. Poke is kind of in an awkward position. Shicklin's being chunked and slowed. Hachi's also being slowed on the retreat. There's not really much they can do, and that's kind of the strength of the composition on re-engages, not so much when Bulldog move into them in that nature. And you can see, things like the Fear Beyond Death into some resets from Vyusi can make the difference, and in the later team fights they did, but that was just kind of a scenario where Bulldog, I think they had the right idea in mind, but it's just the execution that falls short. And then all of a sudden, it's the composition to composition that just takes over as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bulldog coming into this one were the favourites in this series, managed to pick themselves up the win. But as we saw in team fights like that one, Viperio came in. They want to fight. They want to find their way into the UKLC. We said at the beginning of the broadcast how they've been wanting this a long time. They've been in the UKLC, or the UK scene, I should say, for a very, very long time, but haven't found their way into the UKLC, into these higher reaches. But let's take a look back down memory lane, Jamada.
Oh boy.
It's good to face up to your demons, and there were some demonic plays in this series.
Somebody get me the holy water, man, because we had some pretty interesting fights, but very entertaining. Particularly the first game. Vayusi was really putting on a show for us, to be totally honest. Chicklin comes in here, cleans up all of Vayusi's hard work, and then a lot of very intricate minor kites that kind of just allows Bulldog to eventually win out on this skirmish. No one can really touch Chicklin. Great movement to stay on the edge of the Sand Soldiers. Never be allowed to be autoed. Just that once, all it would have taken is one more auto, and then this is the penta kill from Killikin. The shockwave clips onto 3. They just disrespect the wall position. And I mean, I'm not going to say I called it, but it kind of predicted a 3-man shockwave, but just not in the right place. And it led to this pentakill, which we got here. I mean, this series kind of had it all. It had Baron throws, it had a pentakill in the middle of it all, had 80 carries going wild off the walls, had some pretty bonkers engages too, and we have the slow rundown of the cow.
It's certainly, as you say, it's certainly a series that had absolutely everything going for it, and it's the kind of thing where I like to say that play-by-plays love this kind of series, and analysts hate this kind of series because it's just fighting, it's throwing bodies at each other, it's massive individual outplays, it's mistakes all over the shop, and it's just fun League of Legends. And at the end of the day, if there's one thing that UK League beats most other regions at, I'm going to put my neck on the line and say, it's fun League. And we definitely had that coming through today. And I mean, this is just the first day of relegations. We're going to see both these teams again. And we're going to see a couple of other teams joining us tomorrow for their first chance into the cauldron that is this relegation series. But let's have a look at the bracket to show you exactly what that one means. Of course, it's pretty straightforward. Bulldog find themselves in the winner's match. Viperio into the elimination one. They don't want to be going back to the UKL just yet, but they'll be taking on whoever comes out the lesser of the two teams tomorrow. Demise and Lucent Esports will be fighting each other same time, same place in order to discover which of those two teams is better. And I mean, that's a lower seed from the UKLC, a higher seed from the UKL. It's going to be some exciting gameplay there.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how Demise have developed personally, because I feel like they were getting stronger in terms of draft, and they started to gain some kind of idea of how to play out the draft as well that they were being handed. And I think they are a relatively creative team, but I think the early season just put them into too big of a deficit. And then also, you know, key members that you would expect to perform in terms of Rifty and originally Fennec, but then they obviously swapped out for Harncut. Just weren't really there. And Pillar started to shine, but again, performances just weren't enough because of how hard they lost in the early season. And that's why they found themselves here. So I'm curious to see how this month of what should have been development has brought them, because Lucent won't be an easy customer. They do have very strong members that have won the UKL multiple times. They've also got Nice Guy Dom in the mid lane, who the last time he was near the UKLC was with Nerd Rage in the previous relegation series. And he was pretty scary then. And I recently got to cast UKL and he was pretty scary still. So let's see if he can repeat those kind of performances moving into tomorrow.
I mean, there's extra stuff on the line because Lucent Esports just took down Demise Academy in the finals of the UKEL playoffs, managing to win that one 3-2. And that was a crazy 6-hour series. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of talking points from that one tomorrow. You got players like Kurosh absolutely smurfing it down in the UKEL for Demise's Academy roster. But Lucent, as you say, multiple winners on that roster, going to be looking to pick up the pace. But that's all the League of Legends we've got for you this evening. But there's plenty more to be happening this week with the UKLC relegation series. So from myself, Viper and Jamada, and the entire team behind the scenes, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.